Hello Morals, this is Cyphyxia Cybergoddess, and I'm Cater of the Raven. So we know that the Baroness has been shot.
The cabin was sealed. I'm pretty sure the seal doesn't have any legal relevance here on the open sea, but I'm still dependent on Legrand letting me join his team. I better not blow it by breaking his seal without permission. I'd better ask Legrand for permission first. My investigations would be much more difficult if he were upset with me because of such things. An antique wooden globe. If Galileo hadn't asserted himself back then, this would be a flat disk now. How wonderful. Sunshine and a blue sky above the Mediterranean Sea. It would be a perfect cruise day, if not for the murder.
Hello, welcome to the stream. How are you this evening? Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Welcome to the stream. How have you been keeping yourself, Keza?
I'd really like to lie in the sun and take a nap, but I don't have time for that at the moment. Did Edison have any idea what would become of his invention? Big, soft towels. I could reserve a deck chair with it. No, better not.
Well, I don't have a job
Quite a
beforehand.
racket last night. I couldn't hear myself think.
So basically, it's just the same. It's more of the same. Except it's driving me up the wall now, because before all this, I had the choice of going out. Now it's very limited to where I can go. So this game, for what I'm getting, is an awful lot like the ABC Murders game.
Curious. One can easily toss a gun into the sea from almost anywhere on the ship without being noticed. And yet, the murderer chose the one spot where it's not actually possible.
I'm sorry.
The gangway is hard to miss. Why did the murderer drop the gun on the gangway? They must have noticed their mistake, even if their back was to the sea. So, why didn't they take the gun and throw it a few meters farther into the sea?
If you need help, and that's how you play, I'll help you.
I suppose the life jackets are stowed there, close to the railing, close at hand in case of emergency. I hope I don't find myself needing a life jacket.
I still need to play it again anyway, because I've missed a few things, and I got the wrong ending. I've completed the game.
We were here yesterday when we heard the shot, and it was also here where Legrand caught our stowaway.
I'm alright, thanks. Zwei. Zwei, this is one of my fellow YouTuber friends, Keza, who's got her own YouTube channel. She does all sorts of different content. She's really good with Spyro. So she also likes saying "yee" a lot. So if you wouldn't mind, can you all subscribe to each other? Zwy's also got a good channel. He does a lot of anime RPGs, Dark Souls. Hey, Rose, how are you this evening? Yeah, it's very unusual to get a lot of people to appear in my streams.
Ventilation system. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Right, examine the grate. Right, so that's the ventilation shaft. That's the pipe for it.
Why is there an axe hanging here? I suppose it's for chopping through ropes in the event that the lifeboats can't be lowered. Or they use it to enforce who's allowed on the boat and who's not.
How's everyone this evening?
This isn't a panoramic deck for visitors. There are pipes, steel cables, chains up here.
Awesome.
You can smell the smoke from the funnel. I have no idea how the ship works, and I really don't care, as long as it stays afloat. A boat like this would also make a good hideout for a stowaway.
Hi, dry. Okay, pronounce that. What's your name? Dietrix.
Were the tarpaulins arranged like that on purpose so that no one could put them back in order once they get in? You can tell at a glance that everything is ship-shape with this boat.
Call me Cyber. It's easier for everybody. I've got to look for a grate.
The ship's bridge. 2 men. One of them navigating. I get the impression that the officers keep things running. It seems like the captain concentrates on the passengers and the bar. I better let the men do their work. If one of them had detected something yesterday, he'd already have informed Legrand or the captain.
Right, so I need to look for a grate. This says
there's dirt piled up in the corner. Down below where the passengers are, the ship is pretty clean. But the crew doesn't seem to care as much up here.
Right, so I'm just missing where this grate could be. Because as I says, I'm using a
I could inform the captain that the grid has to be repaired, but if I start reporting all the problems on the ship, I'd have to shelve my murder investigation.
As I says, if we can all help each other's channels grow, that's what's important. Hey Cosmo, welcome to the stream. Christ, I've got the whole Skibby gang's here. It's a wee bit complicated due to one of my hobbies to explain, so let's just leave it. I don't want to talk about it on stream because it is quite a serious matter. Not me personally, but for the people involved. Thank you, Trix. Every little helps. No offense, though, the guy's quite awkward to control. It's called The Raven Remastered. It's sort of like the ABC Murders game.
Constable Oliver brought something to drink. You can tell it's not the first time he's had to guard something. The bottle should be full of water. Unless the good constable happens to have a secret alcohol problem. No way to verify that. I can't get the bottle without him noticing.
Okay, Kez, thanks for popping in and keep safe, honey.
The bottle should be full of water. The bottle should be full. No way to verify that. I can't get...
Alright, there we go. Right, talk to him.
It may not seem like it, but Constable Oliver is actually a very effective watchman.
What's going on?
The Raven just flew by.
What?
Or at least, he might as well have.
I wasn't asleep.
I understand. It was just a ruse. Any conclusions about a young stowaway?
He's a bit suspicious. Foreign and whatnot.
I see. Did he act suspiciously in any way?
No. The shot surprised him as much as it did me. Looked in on him earlier. Still seems to be asleep.
Covered with a blanket from head to toe?
Aha. He's still in there. I poked him.
May I go downstairs and have a couple of words with our guest?
No, you may not.
Come again?
Inspector Legrand wants to conduct all the interrogations himself.
I'm sure he'll understand if I form my own conclusions.
He ordered me to guard the door, and that's just what I'm going to do.
How about a bit of individual initiative?
The Raven is a burglar.
How about letting a man do his job?
Before the events of the game,
better at it?
he went he was shot by Inspector Legrand, and nobody heard from him for years. Now all of a sudden, these two jewels called the Eyes of the Sphinx, a ruby and an emerald, I've only this is my first playthrough of the game, so I don't actually know the full story for what, but this is what's happened so far. So they were on a train through Switzerland.
What do you think? What happened here last night?
And the train got
Raven
sabotaged.
broke into the Baroness's cabin, she surprised him, and he shot her.
What was he looking for in her cabin?
And the Baroness is shot.
She was a rich woman.
Why did he lock the door?
Why not?
From inside?
So
An
it's a murder
impressive trick.
mystery.
I'm not saying I know how he did
It's
it.
a
I'm just saying
whodunit.
that it was him.
Why didn't
Slash,
he leave a raven feather?
Are you serious?
It's
We'd have
basically like
suspected him straight away.
But fortunately,
I'd
we
probably
still
say
do.
it's. If you ever seen the program Poirot or Columbo or something like that,
Let's assume that the old raven really has returned and that he really is responsible for all this. Who is he? Or she?
Oh, could be anyone. No one's ever seen the Raven.
He could
So
also be
this
paying someone else
this game
to do
is
his
sort of
dirty
like
work.
Well, of course.
the
No, it's a
Poirot
fact that he used
series.
to work with partners.
No one
but
could ever
who's
identify
the
the
raven
raven himself.
who
Some claims that they didn't
killed
even
the
know
Baroness.
that they were working for him. Fascinating. He could have hired someone with financial difficulties to set off the alarm at a certain time without that person knowing why they were doing it.
The man Legrand shot back then, he was a famous safecracker. He could just as well have been a henchman.
Or the real raven. There's probably no better cover for a big thief than acting like a small one. I don't want to keep you from your duties any longer.
Good idea.
I wonder if this game is an advanced version of bocce. Maybe the inventor realized
But
that it's difficult to play
you've got
ball
to-
games on
in
a
this
boat
game you've got to
and came
examine
up with an
everything
alternative.
to get a good enough score. Which is why I'm doing this, so I can platinum the game, because apparently there's a couple of I've been looking on trophies, because I always do this with games. A few of the trophies this game glitch, and if you don't get them at when you first try, you won't get them at all.
The stowaway surely didn't sleep well last night in the cargo hold, although his cell is probably more comfortable than my cabin, and more spacious. I have to talk to the young fellow right away. Even though he was already under arrest at the time of the shot, he may have noticed something before. If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to get rid of the constable first. He won't let me talk to our young friend.
Otherwise, I've just got a message. So what's that? What have you been up to today? I seen you earlier on Tricks in Badger stream. You should. Well, I'm not a PC gamer. I've tried PC gaming, I cannot use the mouse and keyboard to save my life. I've always been a console gamer. In terms of exclusives, and if you want to play with friends and get involved with games, such as playing with Badger and things like that, I would recommend getting a PS4. Obviously right now it might be harder with the current crisis going on. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Zwei does both PC and console gaming, don't you, Zwei?
An alarm like this one was set off yesterday. This one hasn't been set off. The security seal is intact. I'm not paying for this trip, and that's a fair price for my cabin. It's rather plain, shall we say. An evacuation plan? And some tips from the doctor for avoiding seasickness, sunburn, and the like. And here, a schedule of activities.
So
A drink with the captain, a shuffleboard competition on the forecastle. That's about it. A real barrel of fun. A model of the Lydia before it was rebuilt. It used to be a freighter. The wide hallways, the cabins, and the saloon were added later. A pitiful attempt to make the interior of the ship seem less dreary. A bit of paint on the walls would have helped more, especially since a plant won't survive long without daylight. There are little stones in the flower pot. Not only does the poor plant have to make do without sunlight, it doesn't have any soil either.
So what's that games do you play, Tricks?
That is Legrand's cabin.
Oh, thank you. I don't see. Thank you very much. I mean, I don't really mind people not coming to my streams. It's when people come and leave right away without saying hello. They'll come, see what I'm doing, and then go, oh, don't fancy this, and walk out. It's really, I find that more hurtful than people not coming at all.
Come in.
That and people coming and saying they're here
are you
and
ready?
not saying
Good morning,
goodbye,
Inspector Legrand.
because I find that rude. If I'm at someone's stream,
My head is pounding, but I think I'm okay.
Chloral hydrate.
I would always say I'm leaving.
That's why you have a headache. I found traces of it in your champagne glass.
What have you found out so far?
The Baroness was shot in the chest at close range. We heard the shot. The murderer quickly fled the cabin and dropped the murder weapon over the railing later. A simple story so far.
But why was her cabin door locked?
Exactly. If the murderer wanted to make it seem like a suicide, he'd have shot her in the head and left the gun at the crime scene.
And if it was murder, why did he go to all the trouble of locking the door from inside? And how did he manage that anyway?
Especially since we arrived just a few seconds later and didn't see anyone near the cabin.
Something doesn't make sense here.
No, it doesn't, and it's driving me crazy.
Did you find the murder weapon?
On the gangway on the side of the ship. I suspect the murderer tried to drop it into the sea. He would have stood close to the railing to let it fall unseen.
And since he doesn't know the ship, he had bad luck and dropped it right
Well,
onto
you
the
should stream
gangway.
about
Indeed.
7
Now, do you
o'clock.
find that probable?
Not
I
a
was supposed
bit.
to be
Neither
doing
do
a live
I.
stream with a friend earlier on. So we did some offline gaming. Playing Borderlands, and he couldn't do it. He had to go because he was feeling unwell. So I waited a little while to see if he was coming back, and he didn't. So I ended up putting this on and doing my own live stream. I really appreciate the help.
What kind of a gun is it?
A pistol,
Hello everyone,
a
welcome to the
Luger,
stream.
oh wait.
Antique.
See what I mean?
Manufactured
with
a million
4
times
people there
during
just
and
coming
after
in,
the
and
First World War. Austrian.
neither one said
The
hello.
owner is David Kreutzer, the violinist. We found him tonight totally drunk on the bow of the ship. He confirmed that it's his gun, but he claims that it was stolen from him.
Fingerprints?
Nothing. But it's worth mentioning that the clip was missing 2 bullets.
And it's
Of course,
definitely the
we should
murder
help each
weapon.
other out.
The ballistic tests
That's
are
why if I know
incomplete.
that
Actually,
streamers
I've been waiting far too long for the bullet
in my
recovered
chat,
from the corpse. Pay the good doctor a visit.
I will
Simon, and
always
see that he does his
I'll
job.
always tell them to subscribe to each other, because that's what we should do.
Do you believe the violinist?
He'll be the first person I question. He claims he can't remember anything from the last few hours. Says he drank a bottle of schnapps.
He was on the train and he doesn't have an alibi. His drunkenness could be a smokescreen.
He fits the profile. He travels a lot, has access to high society. Could be interesting.
And this chloral hydrate?
Is a tranquilizer. Can be dissolved in alcohol. The effect begins in minutes and lasts for hours. Who gave you the glass of champagne?
Oh, that'd be perfect for me, because I love horror games.
I think it was the
I
captain.
can't play them personally
But
because
he could
I
have got
suck
the
at
glass
them.
from someone else.
Find
Well-
out.
Understood.
If they're first person view, then I'm not very good at first person view stuff. This is why I'm playing Borderlands with. When I'm playing Borderlands, it's always with a friend. Because I don't really play FPS games very well. But I always watch, when it comes to horror, doesn't matter if it's in gaming or if it's in movies or TV shows, cartoons, whatever, I love it. And the gorier the better.
You think that the jewel thief is the murderer?
Our friend would have needed another key to open the safe and steal the second eye, the one the Baroness was carrying. At least, that's what we implied.
What do you mean?
The Baroness was famous for her forgetfulness. I convinced her to give me the third key. It seems safer for the eye.
The thief searches the Baroness's cabin looking for the third key.
She returns from the saloon earlier than expected.
Surprises him, and he can't allow her to identify him.
He imprisons her until the coast is clear, and then shoots her.
And thus, the thief becomes a murderer.
But still doesn't have all the keys.
Are you sure that there's no bomb inside this time?
Professor Lucien locked it in front of an audience, and it will be opened for the first time in Cairo.
Let's hope so.
It would take hours to crack it, and you'd need heavy machinery.
Or the keys.
Or the 3 keys, that's right.
Do you really think
I play
that
a
the
variety
Raven
games myself.
is behind all this?
He wrote the letter that was on the safe in the train.
I'll
Without
play
the letter,
Lego
we wouldn't have
games.
opened the safe, and the
I'll
bomb
play
wouldn't have
games like
exploded.
Untitled Dawn.
But
I'll play games like
It
this.
doesn't seem like him, does it? The Raven was famous in part because he never hurt anyone, much less killed anyone, during a burglary.
It's his handwriting, and he called me Nico. No one else does that. I chased that man across Europe for years. It is him. It has to be him.
But the evidence...
Enough.
I'll be on my way. I want to find out who gave me the drugged champagne.
Good idea. And get the bullet from Dr. Gebhardt.
Of course. Inspector Legrand? Are you okay? Maybe you should take a break.
I can sleep once I've caught the raven. Goodbye, Constable.
Be seeing you.
What I'd love to be able to play on my channel is
Legrand is
Silent
risking not
Hill
just
2D
his
games.
career, but his health as well on his hunt for the raven. He's working like a demon. Maybe that's why he caught the raven and no one else.
Come in.
I mean, I refuse to play. I refuse to pay PS now
Hello,
$8.99
Dr.
a month
Gebhardt.
for the luxury to play games that I want to play.
And there's the next one.
Excuse me?
You want something else from me, don't you?
I'm afraid I do.
What a first day at work. Well,
What's the result of your examination of the victim?
she's dead.
I didn't make you work all night long, Dr. Gebhardt.
Take your time.
She was shot. Point blank shot. Probably with a pistol. It seems like she was lying in bed. The shot struck her heart. She died immediately.
One shot?
More were unnecessary. And we only heard one shot, no?
And there's just one entrance wound.
Just one.
I am told that I was drugged.
That's how it seems.
What can you tell me about it?
Me? Why should that be my business?
Haven't you analyzed the glass?
No, I haven't. The inspector said he's the better chemist. I let him do it. That way I could at least concentrate on the body.
Do you think the Baroness might have been drugged? She was very tired and unsteady when Legrand and I saw her.
Yeah, I heard about that. I must have just missed her in the saloon. And without having seen her myself, it is hard to make a diagnosis.
Of course. Can you say something about her general health?
She was quite overweight, and the butler said that she suffered from diabetes. Despite that, she hadn't visited a doctor for several years.
Doesn't sound good.
Happens more frequently than you might suppose. Some people are scared of doctors and pay with an early death. It is possible that the Baroness wouldn't have lived much longer anyway.
So I had to talk to somebody.
Do you know whose glass I drank from?
What do you mean?
Captain de Conti
Derek.
handed
Welcome to
me
the
a
stream.
glass
How
of
are you?
champagne. But where did he get it?
I don't know. Did you ask him?
I'm just asking because you were also in the saloon when the champagne was served.
Yes, but I only entered the saloon a few seconds before you did. I didn't manage to get a drink
I'm
myself.
okay, thanks.
Which, in
As I
retrospect,
says,
is
it's
lucky.
been a trouble
you're
in
right
a few
about that.
days for me as a wrestling fan.
Have you
but
already
I can't,
removed
but I
the
don't want
bullet?
to talk about
Did
it
Legrand
on stream
send you?
because
What is that Frenchman's
it's
problem?
quite serious
I already
business.
told you. I will get... That is also
And I
what
don't
I
want,
told the constable,
potentially-
who he kept sending all night long.
I could
Once I
if I
finally
say
got rid of
anything,
Legrand himself.
I could potentially
look
get
over your
done for
shoulder?
defamation of character.
He probably
information,
wanted
and I
to
don't want
take the
that to
scalp.
happen.
That's understandable. How much longer will it take?
I have just finished. Send my regards to His Majesty.
Thanks. I think that's it for now.
No. That is it for now, then, and
you're
later.
grounded?
I'm going to lie down for a few hours. Can you tell that to your boss?
But
Uh-oh.
could I at least have the key?
Absolutely not.
But if we have to examine the victim again,
Then the esteemed inspector knows where to find me. In my cabin. In bed. Good night, Constable Zellner.
Sorry about that, somebody just messaged me something a little disturbing. See, this one's when you're a naughty boy. You be naughty, you get grounded. But in all seriousness, I'll check some of your streams out when you get back, to streaming, that is.
The alcoholic drinks and everything that goes with them is top-notch on this ship. Fresh ice and tongs. They could be useful.
Yeah, give me the tongs.
Constable Zellner, what is the meaning of this? Are even the police light-fingered nowadays?
Yes, why plays
I need
the
this
original
tool for a criminal investigation.
the original R33?
Why didn't you say so? So, how are...
Actually...
So what's the first game you gotta play when you're out of ground in jail? Derek?
What was your night?
Oh, terrible.
FTW?
It was fantastic.
That's for the world, right.
Everyone was excited about having a pleasant drink under the stars. And then this.
You were in the saloon all night long?
As the captain, I have to care for my passengers. After you and the others rushed out, I tried to maintain
I've checked out Resident Evil
But when
8
the
trailer.
alarm goes off, I lose
find
the
that the
debate.
wolf creature things are very ugly. Or for the win. I've not got any of the Fallout games.
How was the Baroness?
She really surprised me. After she was so unapproachable at the reception and didn't show her face for the entire afternoon, I was afraid she was one of the bores and bourgeoisie. But then she arrived in the early evening in the best of moods. Already had a few, if you know what I mean.
Did she say anything to you?
She asked me where Legrand's cabin was. I told her, then invited her to come for drinks in the evening. I said it would be great fun. The whole ship will be there, and you don't want to miss that, I told her.
And then?
She seemed to like the idea. She smiled, and then left again for a few minutes. Then she came back and seemed very happy. We drank a toast to life.
But at some point she didn't feel well anymore?
She overdid it big. She
I
suddenly started to
honestly miss my
and
PS3.
almost spilled her drink. I asked her if she wanted to rest for a moment in her cabin. At first, she didn't want to. She definitely wanted to stay in the saloon. But then she realized that she really did need to lie down.
If I had my
We left
PS3,
together.
so
You know the rest of the story.
no one likes a show off, Derek.
Did everyone drink from the same bottle of champagne last night?
There was
Joel.
more than one bottle, if that's what
I
you
was
mean.
actually
There were quite a few guests,
I was actually made
and
to
the
sell
event
my
lasted
PS3
several hours.
by
The
my
last
ex
bottle of
because he
champagne,
got me a PS4.
the one the Baroness
I
drank
wanted to
from.
keep my PS3 because
Did
my
anyone
games
else
were on
drink
it.
from it?
Certainly.
have
and he
reason
told
to
me
believe
that I didn't
that
need
the
it,
champagne was
and he
drugged.
wanted it.
Incredible. But wouldn't that have made everyone drowsy?
Not if it was only the Baroness's glass that was drugged.
I see. That's possible. On a night like that, many glasses are filled and emptied. There are several stewards, many guests. No one keeps track of every glass and every bottle.
A few drops in a glass?
Yes, it's certainly possible.
The glass you handed me last night, where did you get it?
Ah, I understand. You think your glass was poisoned as well?
Did you pour it yourself?
No. I saw that you weren't doing so well and wanted to rescue the situation. I took the first available glass and I give it to you.
Was it on the table?
No, I hurry over to you, together with Dr. Gebhardt, who... Of course, he had the glass in his hand. He was looking around for a place to set it down, so
As
that
of
he
what,
could
Derek?
examine you. I took it from him.
And gave it to me?
I'd like to apologize for that, but you look so worse for the wear, and I just wanted to comfort you. I didn't think of looking for a new glass for you.
So the doctor had the drugged glass in his hand. Is it possible to find out where the alarm was set off?
I'm afraid not. There are alarms all over the ship.
I saw that they're sealed. Can't we just check whether the seal is broken?
I'm afraid they're gonna be missing on a lot of alarms. You know, this is an old ship, and over the years...
So, you're saying that the alarms haven't been regularly maintained?
I'll inform the crew immediately, of course.
Of course. What can you tell me about the passengers?
Oh, not that much, I'm afraid. I wanted to get to know them properly at the reception. In most cases, I just shook hands with them as they boarded the ship. There are a few
Sure
regulars
enough.
on board,
Okay.
and after dinner, I had a conversation with Mr. Kreutzer, a
Don't forget you
talented
can talk to
violinist,
each other
and Lady
if I'm
Westmacott.
distracted by my game, okay?
But you already
Don't feel like
know
you're
them
being
from the
ignored by
train.
me or
It
each
seems
other.
like there aren't that many passengers on board.
These bloody airplanes are making our lives miserable. Can you imagine? Grown men prefer to jam themselves into a narrow metal coffins instead of enjoying the fresh sea air on a ship.
It's all about saving time.
It shouldn't be about how much time it takes to get from A to B, but about how you spend that time. What you experience on the journey. That's what it's about.
I'll get back to my
I
investigations
just saw that
now.
video where a 60-year-old YouTuber streamer haters called Fedo.
Lady Westmacott seems to be an early bird, but maybe that's just because of all the excitement. I saw a twinkle in her eye on the
I
train.
don't- I
She's
swear to God,
eager to be part of a
I think
real
it's-
detective
I think it's
story.
weird seeing an old person cry. I don't like to see the elderly
Lady
cry.
Westmacott, already on your... Oh,
Constable, don't you think before you speak?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No time for chit-chat. What have you found out?
We're still working on the case. Actually, I have a couple of questions for you.
Please, go ahead.
What did you think of our adventure on the train? An extraordinary story, isn't it?
I'm glad that you were able to prove yourself, Mr. Zellner.
Hopefully not for the last time.
I'm glad that everything ended well. I want to thank you sincerely for taking care of Matthew. I can't bear to think about something happening to him.
It all worked out in the end.
I'm level 13 in the first Borderlands game.
Do you think that the thief from the train and the murderer are the same person?
I think the new Raven is capable of anything.
Legrand believes there is no new Raven. He thinks that the old one has returned.
He said that.
Do you think it's possible? Everyone thinks he's dead.
As a dramatist, the return of the Raven would certainly be delightful. A legend comes back from the grave for one last job. It's quite romantic. At the same time, though, I'd be disappointed.
Why is that?
I followed the Raven's career closely. There weren't many burglars with such character and charm. His burglaries were clever and entertaining, but he was sloppy in London. He almost got caught, and I'll never forgive him for the affair on the train. No, I would much rather that the Raven stayed dead and had nothing to do with the burglary or the murder.
What do you think? Who is our suspect?
Everyone, or almost everyone. Everyone on board is physically capable of shooting someone, but who has the dark desire to take the life of a defenseless person?
One cannot read minds.
And one should not try. You have to collect evidence, traces, clues. That's what will lead us to the killer. It won't be like a bad crime novel, in which they introduce a new character shortly before the end who, surprise, surprise, is also the murderer.
Murderers leave evidence. They're nervous or unnaturally relaxed. They have to adjust constantly.
And because of that, they make mistakes. This is your chance,
Hey Walker,
Constable.
welcome to the
If
stream.
you find a
Just
mistake, you'll find your murderer.
just having a lot of fun having a chat with each other while me
Have
playing
you
a
noticed
crappy game.
anything related to the murder?
Unfortunately not. I was already in my cabin and missed all the commotion. Damnable old age.
You're telling me.
Oh, you're still young. At my age, you have to expect that you won't experience much anymore. And although I've written about murder so many times, I've never actually witnessed one. How exciting.
I doubt everyone is so relaxed in such a situation.
Heartless is the word you're searching for, right, Constable? I certainly didn't want the Baroness to be murdered. But if I can't undo it, then I might as well enjoy it.
What do you think of Inspector Legrand?
He seems to be as skilled as everyone says. Intelligent, focused.
Why don't you
I had a chat with him yesterday,
go
and he
for
impressed
weaker
me,
enemies,
but there's something haunted
to
in
build
his
yourself
eyes.
up?
I don't think he ever really stopped hunting the Raven.
Catching the Raven made him famous. What if he actually shot the wrong person? Unjustified fame bothers people, the good ones at least.
And you think he's one of the good ones?
Anyone who tries so hard to tear down his own memorial must be honorable. Or insane.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course.
Unfortunately, the character I play as doesn't control very well. He's very slow and sluggish. I've got the first one, I've got the pre-sequel, and I've got Borderlands 2. I never played any of them until I bought Borderlands yesterday. And I was playing it by myself, and my friend who saw that I was playing it asked me if I wanted help, and I said yes. So I've been playing it a little bit today as well.
No, I've slept enough.
I'm level 13.
Come in.
Siren.
Constable?
About the bullet. Here it is.
Excellent. Give it to me. As I suspected, a 7.65 Parabellum Luger.
Don't you want to examine it in more detail?
When I have time. For now, though, we can assume that we had the murder weapon. There can't be too many antique Luger 08 pistols on board.
May I take a look at the Baroness's cabin?
We already searched it thoroughly.
Sure. But what about now, by daylight?
Yes, yes, fine, it can't hurt. Here, take this with you.
Thanks. I'll let you know if I find anything important.
But only then, please. I'm very busy.
Of course. About the tranquilizer.
Who gave you the glass of champagne?
It was Captain de Conti.
You're sure?
He doesn't deny it, but he also says that the glasses passed through many hands that night and that everyone had access to the champagne.
So it could have been anyone.
Maybe the question isn't who put the poison in the glass, but rather who it was they wanted to poison.
Smart. And who were they trying to poison?
Dr. Gebhardt? The captain got the glass from him.
An unconscious ship's doctor. That sounds like it would be more use to a murderer than a drugged constable.
You think so? Did the murderer have reason to assume that his shot might not kill the victim immediately and that Dr. Gebhardt would be able to save her?
You're right. That's improbable. My ego is just searching for reasons for them to want to kill her, and not me. Good job, Zelna.
I'll be in touch if I uncover more clues.
Very well.
No. Is Clutchat's a robot, isn't it? As I says, I'm only level 13, I've not went far into the game. But it's I know he's a robot, that's about it.
This is the first murder scene I've ever set foot in.
Oh yeah, I know that.
The mannequin surely came with the cabin. A mannequin for the Baroness's clothes would have a more generous figure. The portholes face the side deck. If someone climbed out of the cabin through a porthole, Legrand and I would have seen them.
So in other words, he's like that robot for Portal. Took me a while there to get to it.
The portholes are locked. One cannot open or close them from outside. It's the same problem as with the door. If someone left the cabin through the porthole, how did they lock it? And the Baroness wasn't shot from outside. The doctor said she was shot at close range. Apparently, the Baroness didn't have time to unpack her bags. Or rather,
Me?
didn't have
Well,
time to tell her
FFX.
butler to unpack them for her. Sifting through all that would take ages. But here, the Baroness's handbag. Aha!
Probably when I've got it, when
A
I finish
small leather-bound
playing
book.
Final Fantasy 7.
1964 is engraved on it. This must be the Baroness's diary. Let's see. Yes, it's a diary, all right. Difficult to read. No entry from yesterday. A brief, sober description of what she's done recently. Met Morris, arranged benefit concert for renovation of Louvre Southeastern Wing, Times photo shoot for Eye of Sphinx, BM,
I never got
poor
past the
excuse
first
for
zombie.
photographer,
I died.
too fidgety,
And now I've hit the game out again.
and so on. This entry looks strange. The handwriting is shaky, difficult to read. Dreamt of Bubby. Yesterday would have been his birthday. Next week, Jay's. Cosmetics, a handkerchief, a spectacles case. Nothing special. The Baroness was a very busy woman, and it looks like she had to cope with the loss. She writes about Bubby and Jay. Neither seem to be alive anymore. Almost every family lost loved ones in the war. Maybe hers as well. The notepad has the ship's emblem on it. I suppose all the first-class cabins have them. It says, Inspector, be in the saloon at 10 p.m. There is a murderer on board and I will expose him. B. The Baroness seems to have known the murderer, and that means that the Raven can't be the murderer. He never killed anybody. Legrand probably never got the message, otherwise he'd have said something.
Who's Savant?
Sunflowers. By Van Gogh, I presume. He liked to paint that sort of thing. Can't be an original. They cost thousands of francs.
Oh, okay.
A tape recorder. Must go with the built-in speakers. Probably part of the cabin's furnishings. The tape recorder is older than the hills, but it was once very expensive. Top of the range. And it doesn't come cheap. Strange. There's only one reel. And it's the wrong one. No. No sign of the original reel. A reel made by Zeibling. I know the brand. Zeibling's tapes can be overwritten many times without losing quality. They're used in offices so that executives can record messages for the secretaries on the same tape over and over again. But they're not good for much else. They're robust, but they don't offer much in terms of sound quality.
Yeah, both selector.
There should be a ventilation shaft behind the hatch. Usually a good way to break in and out undetected. But we're on a ship. The ventilation shafts are very small here. I can't say why, and it seems impossible. But something tells me that the murderer entered and left the cabin through the door. The only question is how. The door frame was damaged when Dr. Gebhardt kicked it in. The real question is, why was the door locked in the first place?
Well, because the one was dead inside.
Assuming the murderer isn't a magician, and the Baroness locked the door herself before she went to bed, the murderer couldn't have left the cabin through the door. So, the murderer must have still been in here when Dr. Gebhardt kicked the door in. Which is unlikely because someone would have seen him, or he found another way out of the cabin. Another alarm. It was tripped at some point. The seal is broken. But there's no way of telling whether it happened yesterday or 5 years ago. The most unportable portmanteau I've ever seen. A portable bar is more like it. Must be hard work transporting this big, heavy thing halfway around the globe. And the Baroness was lucky that the other freight cars were only lightly damaged by the explosion.
How was the door locked again? She was shot inside her room. And she was shot dead on her bed. And the door was locked from the inside. How could they get in and out in a couple of seconds?
An impressive piece, but I don't think it'll get me anywhere with the murder investigations. There's still blood on the mattress. The sheet and the blanket have already been removed. To analyze them, I suppose.
But how is it locked from the inside?
Nothing. The blood spot is the only sign that someone committed a crime in here.
If you've got the ability to bring a portable purple barbie.
That's odd. The blood is so red. Shouldn't it gradually darken in the air? Turn brown? The unusual color of the blood could be something that Legrand and Dr. Gebhardt missed last night. All cats are gray in the dark, as the saying goes. I should take a sample. Something's under there. Down feathers. Maybe from a quilt or a pillow. Nothing special. Although, it seems like one of the feathers was scorched at the top. Literally burnt. I'll take it with me. A big, ugly, and impractical vase.
Okay,
If it
Derek.
had a wider opening, one could at least use
Thanks
it
for
as an
coming along
umbrella
in
stand.
my stream.
Can't see anything. Wow, heavier than it looks. Aha! Why were the down feathers tossed in the vase? Or is there anything else in there? There may be something else in the vase, but the neck is too narrow to reach in with my hand. Could work. There's something in there. Someone stuffed this in the vase.
Yeah, it was
Looks like
a
it's been
gun.
used to
It was on the
muffle a
gangway.
gunshot. If this isn't an important discovery, I don't know what is. Legrand, here I come.
Right, I forgot about the feathers.
More feathers, and they're singed as well. I'd better take it with me.
Yes, I go away the glitchy. I go away the glitchy. Oh, my game's stuck. Right, let's see if that fixed it. My game's stuck there. Well, if you want to, if you can get a PS4 soon, you should be able to get it for I think I paid either £8 or £5.
The Baroness's butler looks like he didn't get much sleep. I would describe his facial expression as worried. Hello, Mr. Inch.
Oh, Constable, hello.
You look the worse for wear. It must be terrible for you.
Quite terrible. No one will hire me now.
Excuse me?
My mistress was murdered. Would you hire a butler who's been mixed up in a murder?
But if it turns out that you're not guilty...
If. But what if not? Who else would they blame? There are no gardeners on this ship.
I understand your problem. Under these circumstances, I'm sure you'd answer some questions that could help clear your name, wouldn't you?
Of course.
Did you notice anything suspicious last
So do
night?
you think you'd
No,
get this gig
sir.
yourself?
After the Baroness went to the saloon, I went to the forecastle. I was there until the alarm went off. I went to the side deck and arrived shortly after Professor Lucian and Miss Miller. We found you and Inspector Legrand there. You were unconscious, and the inspector asked us to take care of you.
Did you hear the gunshot?
No, just the alarm, sir.
You said you were on the forecastle. It sounded like the Baroness let you have the rest of the night off.
Not entirely, sir. One of the crew informed me that the Baroness wanted to be roused at 10:15.
Right. Why was that?
I suppose that she wanted to toast the success of the journey with the captain and the other passengers.
She hadn't intended to take a nap then.
That was not her way, sir. She had a lot of spirit, shall we say, when it came to social engagements and a glass or two of champagne.
The Baroness's cabin seems to have been ransacked.
Indeed, sir, by the Baroness herself.
Really?
She was searching for something the entire afternoon.
And did she find it?
I think she did, sir, yes. She was in high spirits when she finally left her cabin.
You wouldn't happen to know what she was looking for, would you?
I'm afraid not.
Would you describe the Baroness as orderly?
Well, she always had a lot of responsibilities, sir.
That doesn't answer my question.
She used to take a lot of luggage on journeys, and I helped her keep track of it as best I could. She was always very angry when she couldn't find something.
What about the photos and the documents I saw in her cabin?
I really don't know. They were out of bounds to me, sir. Memories from the war, I'd say. They meant a lot to her.
The Baroness seemed to be pretty drunk the last time I saw her.
Is that so?
Does that surprise you? Did the Baroness not drink?
Oh, yes, she drank. It was no secret.
I understand. How serious was her habit?
Serious enough, sir.
Was she under any medical supervision?
Certainly not, sir. She adamantly refused to see a doctor. Like so many elderly women, she had a distinct aversion to hospitals and the like.
How long had you worked for the Baroness?
6 months, sir.
Only 6 months. I always thought that butlers stayed with their employers for decades.
Those decades have to start at some point, Constable. Her former butler wasn't able to fulfill his duties any longer. Gout, sir.
I understand.
I took on his
welcome to the
duties and
stream.
hoped for a secure position for the next 20
Don't forget to
years.
say hi.
May I ask what happened to your arm?
A souvenir from the war, sir.
Doesn't it hinder your work?
Yes, sir, obviously.
I didn't mean to offend you.
The Baroness had a soft spot for disabled veterans. I think she'd been through a lot herself.
I think that's all for now.
Please, sir, find the murderer. You have to clear me of all suspicion.
Because it's never the butler who does it. Or the maid.
A singed pillowcase is proof that there must have been a second gunshot. Inspector?
Can't you knock?
I didn't realize. I'm really...
I'm not getting anywhere. I'm going to question each passenger individually. Anyone without an airtight alibi will be checked for gunshot residue.
But, Inspector...
People trip up when you put pressure on them, Constable Zellner. The Raven is nervous. He's changed his methodology and become a murderer. I'll see it in his eyes. After you.
But, Inspector Legrand...
Who's still here, folks? Let me know.
We have no proof that the Raven and the murderer are the same person.
You may not know it, but I do. I will catch him, with or without your help.
I don't believe it. What's gotten into him? Ah, well. It makes no sense to tell him about my theories if his opinion is already set. I need evidence. Or better yet, the murderer. I also need his lab if I'm going to get anywhere. I need to get in there somehow. And I really need to talk to the stowaway. He may have information, and the inspector will just ignore him, since he's too young to be the Raven.
I realize you were back. Welcome back.
Legrand locked the door. The lock isn't especially secure. If I had a wire or something like that, I could probably pick it.
Oh, wrong place. I don't know, maybe, I don't know if I'll keep on streaming or not. See how I feel. Probably stream until my stream is at a minute and 30.
Mr. Kreutzer, come on, you have to give me a bit more. You're the only one who was on the train and who has no alibi for last night.
As I said, I was in my cabin.
Are you sure that it was your cabin and not the Baroness's?
Legrand will question the guests, one after another. But if he doesn't get the answers that he wants to hear, it could become unpleasant for them. Mr. Kreutzer clearly feels uneasy. But does Legrand actually think he's the Raven? Legrand is absorbed in the interrogation. He still seems pretty annoyed. The violinist seems to be bearing the brunt of it. Lady Westmacott, may I bother you for a moment?
By all means, Mr. Zellner.
How is the questioning going?
Are you implying that I'm an eavesdropper? The inspector is placing a lot of pressure on our dear Mr. Kreutzer. He's the only one who was on the train and who doesn't have an alibi for last night.
Perhaps. But him? A murderer?
I know people like him. He doesn't have enough backbone to kill someone in cold blood and remain so calm. He'd turn it into a drama, and then a farce, drink himself insensible, and then, railing at fate, pitch himself into the sea. Forget him. Legrand is wasting his time. Mr. Kreutzer just happens to be a perfect fit for the inspector's image of the Raven.
Athletic, cultured, moves among the rich and famous.
I'll eat his violin if he's the Raven or the murderer.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course. Excellent. Ah, that's just what I needed. English ham and eggs. One advantage on an international trip is the international breakfast. Many of my fellow countrymen think it's outrageous to eat fried bacon, sausages, or anything heavy for breakfast. I, on the other hand, think ham and eggs are the only worthwhile contribution the English have made to international cuisine. Miss Mayers seems to have found an opportunity to do nothing. Hello, Miss Mayers.
Hello, Mr.
Constable Zeller. Do you think it's appropriate to go sunbathing in a situation like this?
What situation?
A woman was murdered last night.
If refusing to sunbathe could bring the dead back to life, I'd go back to my cabin immediately.
Did you hear or see anything suspicious last night?
No, I didn't feel very well last night. I went to bed early.
So, you're feeling better this morning?
Thanks for asking.
I'm sure your parents are truly sorry that they can't be with you at this difficult time.
Maybe. But I'm not a little girl anymore. And thinking about my fiancé keeps me going.
You're engaged?
Yes. My boyfriend and I got engaged right before the trip. I want to surprise my parents, especially my dad.
I'm sure he'll be very surprised. But what will you do if your father doesn't agree to the engagement?
What choice does he have when he put me on this boat full of thieves and murderers in the first place?
Charming. Enjoy the sun, Miss Mayers, and don't let us disturb you.
If you're trying to make me feel guilty, Constable, it's not working.
Captain DeConti seems old and tired. The price you pay for a life like his, I suppose.
Yeah, kinda. It's been ages since I've seen a Nuke being played.
Salty sea air in my old lungs, wind in my thinning hair. If I hadn't become a policeman, I could have been a sailor. Miss Miller and the professor are talking intensely. She seems pretty relaxed, by her standards. Good morning, Miss Miller. Professor Lucien?
Constable Zellner, how are you? I heard you passed out last night.
Well, not quite. I was poisoned.
Oh.
That wretch!
Who do you mean by that wretch?
That stowaway. That new raven.
The young man can't be the murderer. Constable Oliver had already apprehended him when the shot was fired.
You mean...
Whoever killed the Baroness is still on the loose.
I think I should take my leave. I'd like to rest for a while.
One last question, Professor. Do you think the eye is well protected in the safe in Legrand's cabin?
Of course it is. They assured me that it would take hours of work with heavy machinery to crack the safe. And if Legrand isn't in his cabin, Constable Oliver or I check that everything is in order every hour.
I understand.
I want to go back to my cabin. I'll see you later, Mary.
Oh, of course. See you later.
I didn't want to interrupt your conversation with Professor Lucien so abruptly.
I don't know what's wrong with him.
Learning that there's still a burglar on board seemed to frighten him.
He was so relaxed the whole time, and then...
And then the stupid Swiss constable came by and made him anxious.
Oh, I didn't mean that.
No matter. I'm sure he'll calm down and come back soon enough. May I ask you a few questions?
Of course.
How is Matt? He seems happy enough.
After all the commotion, he's already back to his old self again. But I haven't told him about the murder. That would be a bit too much for him.
I think he's made of sterner stuff.
I want to thank you again for what you did on the train. I wouldn't have known...
Everything's fine. Think nothing of it. How was last night for you?
It was awful. I was having a conversation with Edgar, Professor Lucien, here on the forecastle. Then I wanted to look for the lady and went forward via the side deck. When I passed the Baroness's cabin, I heard a muffled scream.
You heard a scream?
Yes. I thought the Baroness probably had a fall. I went to the door and listened for a moment. Since I couldn't hear anything, I knocked on the door and asked whether she was all right. There was no answer.
Interesting. And then?
I didn't know what to do, so I tried to open the door. It was locked. I saw the Baroness's butler, Mr. Inch, on the forecastle. I thought he might have the key and went back. On the way, the bobby crossed my path, and then Edgar, who wanted to check the safe. I explained the situation to him, and then the alarm went off.
How did the scream sound?
It was a short outcry, very frightened, as if someone had been startled.
Was it a woman's voice?
Yes, the voice was high.
So it could have been a scream from the Baroness. Possibly because she discovered someone in her cabin.
Possibly.
That person might have threatened her with a weapon, so that she wouldn't scream for help.
Oh, God.
He waited until the coast was clear.
Oh, please, stop it, Mr. Zellner.
The Baroness's butler said that he was on the forecastle as well?
Yes, he was standing on the other side of the deck smoking a cigarette.
Was he on the forecastle the whole time?
I'm not sure. He was there, and later he was on the side deck with us. Oh, yes, he looked after you while you were unconscious. He unbuttoned your collar and held your head while the doctor checked you.
But you can't say for certain whether he came from the forecastle with you and Professor Lucien, or afterwards.
Well, no. But where else could he have come from?
Did you report that to Inspector Legrand?
Yes, last night. He was very interested and took a lot of notes. But I wanted to look for Lady Westmacott, and he let me go without further delay. He said that he'd take down my full statement today.
I understand.
Do you think the man from the train also killed the Baroness, Constable Zellner?
I don't know yet.
It's horrible. Explosions, thieves, murderers. This isn't the right place for a lady and a little boy.
You and Professor Lucien seem to be having a lively conversation.
Oh, yes. He's an expert in ancient Egyptian art and preeminent in hieroglyphic research. He's the head of the Egyptian department in the British Museum, you know. And he's going to open an exhibition at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo.
Right. For the eye.
They had planned on exhibiting both jewels together for the first time in decades, but that's not going to happen now, sadly. I think it's quite upsetting for him.
We're working hard to ensure that at least one eye will be on display.
I know. I'll ask Lady Westmacott if she'd like to participate in the opening of the exhibition. I think it would be good for her.
And Professor Lucien will surely offer you a private tour. You're American, aren't you?
That's correct.
And you moved to England because of the job?
I lived in England before. During the Second World War, I volunteered. I worked in a pharmacy on a US base north of London.
In a pharmacy? Interesting.
Well, it was the war and everyone was sent where they could help best.
Please, go on, Mrs. Miller.
After the war, I studied music in London. I met my husband there. We married and went back to the States together.
He was also American?
No, English. But he said he had problems with his family and he wanted to be as far from them as possible.
And you gave up your studies for him?
Well, yes, I did.
I'm about finished with this. Once I've finished this conversation, I'm going to stream.
Life as a single mother couldn't have been easy.
It was pretty tough then. I worked from morning till night and it was still only enough for the bare necessities. And I couldn't give Matt all the attention he needed.
And then Lady Westmacott entered your life.
It was like an angel appeared to me. She must have offered me the position out of pity. I had no experience as a carer. She made me a generous offer. I couldn't believe it. And she really adores Matt. She's offered him a good education, and now he has every opportunity in life.
An almost unbelievable story.
I'm still afraid that it's a dream and that I'll wake up one day.
How does it feel to work for such a world-famous person?
The work is very interesting and varied, and it pays well, too.
You are very lucky that the lady
Didn't
offered
you
the
know that?
position to you.
I just hope she won't change her mind one day. What would become of Matt's education then? I really make an effort to measure up to Lady Westmacott's expectations, but sometimes I feel like I fall short.
Lady Westmacott couldn't ask for a better companion.
I'm saving up as much money as I can all the same. I'd do anything so that Matt doesn't have to give up his new life.
Lady Westmacott dropped a hint on the train that she killed her hero, Partout. What did she mean by that?
Oh, she must have meant the manuscript.
Manuscript?
She always takes it with her. It's an unpublished Partout novel. I once asked her why she never published it. She said that according to her will, the novel's only to be published after her death.
And in it, Partout will be killed?
Maybe. I've never read it. No one has. You'd better ask her yourself.
If you worked in a pharmacy, you would certainly know something about medicines and poisons.
Everything is a potential poison, Constable. It depends on the dose.
Have you ever heard of chloral hydrate?
It's a tranquilizer, isn't it?
I'm asking you.
Well, Lady Westmacott also asked questions like that, for her last novel. But since I've never wanted to kill anyone, I never bothered with things like strychnine and arsenic and all that. I could recommend something for a headache, sore throat, or rash.
That's kind of you, but there's really no need. I'll be seeing you, Miss Miller.
Constable?
I'm going to stream here. Let me just save it first.
The metal of the tongs feels...
Just make sure I've saved that. Okay, and the stream here.